fix things. Whatever reason that might be, probably the want in all of this, being assault with a deadly weapon on a big road. Thanks for stopping by. Again, we haven't seen any reckless driving, but that is so far.
All right, let's go.
Way, but they are
not even waiting.
Going almost 90 miles
I
per
don't know
hour
what I'm doing, but I found another police chase.
And it started in the Orange County area in Anaheim. As far as we know, this is a white Chevy Silverado that police are chasing tonight. Again, the Anaheim Police Department chasing this car and not the CHP. The CHP above with their chopper and their fixed wing, but they've been through different areas of Orange County, North Orange County, as far as we know, Anaheim and Fullerton area, and they got back on the 91 freeway. This is actually, I believe, the third time they've been on the 91.
Which is kind of indicative of they don't really know where they want to go.
Right.
I mean, if you just are on and off the freeway the whole time, that's You're not. It's interesting because
they've been on and off.
They don't seem to want to get very far away from North Orange County.
He's just going off the freeway again.
We're exiting here, and so this is. Let's see, what major is this? This is going to be, I think, State College.
Yeah, and you wonder why they do this, right?
Right.
Why do they keep doing this? Where they get off surface streets,
And it's always in California.
Police,
they have
the
most
they have to drive slower
out there.
And go through intersections like this, that they wouldn't do that. They would keep on the freeway and keep going. But as to speak to what Mike was just talking about, maybe the fact that they do want to stay in the area because they are familiar with this area. It did, we believe, start in the Anaheim area. That's why Anaheim police are in chase right now. But it's unclear. Yeah, they've been running multiple red lights and police right behind them. I wonder if we can pull the shot out one more time, Marvin, and just show us how many units are still on the ground behind this thing, because earlier we saw a number of units. It looks like they are there's more than one.
Spread out a little bit now.
But spread out more than they were on the freeway.
I was going to say, I only
I don't know if that's because everyone's just catching up. And I want to point out, Susie, that truck, and Marvin, if you can go back to the right just a little bit. I know we're going to lose the vehicle here for just a quick second, but there is also an unmarked police truck right there. So you see that pickup truck? That is a police vehicle, but it is clearly unmarked. So you've also got potentially detectives involved in this now too. The other thing, Susie, that we won't know until we know is if this was a fresh incident, right? Did this happen today? This assault with a deadly weapon? Did this just happen? Is this a situation where they were surveilling this guy?
Oh, for sure. Was it an investigation?
Right. And so we don't know all those details. We've not been able to get a hold of the Anaheim Police Department. We're texting, calling, leaving voicemails, all of that. But you imagine they're busy right now trying to sort all of this out. As we are northbound on State College, we'll be approaching kind of Brea. Will be our next kind of major city. Well, now we just made a turn, but
tight there.
Right, and trying to get around that traffic. And that's the thing. I mean, we're going any pursuit is dangerous, but we are not going at like ridiculously high speeds that we've seen. But he is still trying to make those moves to try to get away.
Sure.
Right. And that's
running red lights.
And that squeezing in the center divide. And
when he was on the freeway, it was really crazy.
Where this guy has been to try to avoid the law enforcement that are all behind him. But again, we've got a lot of law enforcement helicopters on this. It looks like CHP's helicopter pulled off, but you've still got the fixed wing, and you've still got Angel that are overhead.
Still in the air. Okay.
Yeah, so they definitely still have eyes on this guy.
All right. Well, let's talk about ways that they could possibly stop this car. Along surface streets. We talk about pit maneuvers and. To do a pit maneuver,
the 57 now.
Okay, it looks like they're going to get on the freeway. So, pit maneuver obviously probably out of the question at these highway speeds. But looks like the Anaheim Police Department really want to get to this person. They are not relinquishing this to the CHP, as we told you. They're keeping this one, and they've been on it since earlier. And whatever happened, this want of assault with a deadly weapon on a big rig, it's just curious because, Mike, you got to think what precipitated this to the extent of this kind of presence of police that they really want to get to this person. Maybe there is someone else in this truck, maybe in the cab of the car, who knows? Maybe there's someone in the passenger seat. Maybe there's more to this story. Obviously, there is that we don't know about. We're trying to get to those details right now, but yeah, they're not giving this up.
They're not. And I will say, as far as, what can they do to stop it? It really depends on the agency and what the information that they have is. Clearly, they have much more information than we do. I will say that Orange County is generally more aggressive with things like pit maneuvers and spikes. So I think that we did get to some spots where they may have been able to attempt that. So they may have made the command decision to not do that at this point, and that would be
and
because
he's exiting the
of
freeway again, so he's
for.
going back to surface streets.
We talked about this before, but you do these pit maneuvers, and the idea is you spin the car around. First of all, this is a little bit of a top-heavy truck, right? So you run the risk of flipping it as we are negotiating now back on what freeway? The 91.
The 91. Okay.
But you run that risk, and then you also run the risk if you do successfully spin him around. Now he's facing you. Right. And if he's got a gun, if that's the weapon that was used,
we don't know that exactly.
Right. Then all of a sudden these officers are right in the line of fire. So they always weigh that. If a pit maneuver is worth it, if that's too dangerous for the officers, what's the previous behavior of this guy? Those are all things they take into consideration. And knowing Orange County law enforcement the way I do, and just kind of the way they handle pursuits, I think that if they wanted to do the pit maneuver, we would see them a lot closer to his bumper. We would see them itching for that opportunity when we're on surface streets. And I just don't see that. I do see them kind of holding back a little bit. They're certainly there. They're certainly chasing him as we exit the freeway.
Pedestrian.
Again on State College. We're right back onto State College again. We're just going in circles. There's a unit right there, which again, if they wanted to try to do a spike strip, I mean, we've been on State College so many times, they probably could have set that up. But again, that is another situation where an officer has to be in front of the suspect. And that's just something they may not be willing to kind of negotiate with right now. You see that unit there that is hot on his tail. There's a bunch of them down there. They're all right behind him. Wrong side of the road now. Wow. Okay, so this is kind of the first bit of dangerous driving we've seen as he is still on the wrong side of the road trying to get around that traffic. That is going to slow law enforcement down a little bit. They don't like that, although he is, still kind of right there as you go through that intersection. But that makes them nervous, right? I mean, going on the wrong side of the road like that is certainly very dangerous.
In between all those cars and drivers who have no idea what's happening behind them, and then all of a sudden, can you imagine just a car flying behind you and the police officers following? If they were to follow that closely, I mean, you just never know what could happen. And that's the legal nature of police pursuits too. We know that the LA County Sheriff's Department, they backed out of doing pursuits for many years because of that reason. And it was just started again under Sheriff Alex Villanueva because of those legal ramifications.
Right, exactly. And Suze, I want to play back. We missed a spike strip. I didn't catch it, that unit, but that unit that was sitting on the side of the shoulder there on State College did attempt to spike. Jackie's got it for us right there. So watch as he comes off the freeway. Oh, there it is. There it is. See it? Right there, pull it out. So he missed
I thought that was a pedestrian, but it was the spike strip.
So that was a good thought. And I wondered, remember, because we were saying he keeps getting on and off at State College. So so spike strips.
So they noticed the pattern, and that's what they need to do. Spike strips. They noticed that pattern that he was getting off the freeway, and that was the exit where he was doing it. And so that's why you saw the officer there putting out those spike strips and then pulling them back, but it looks like they did miss. But like Mike was saying, it's difficult to do. It's not easy to put those spike strips out either. Again, you have to find a pattern of where this person is traveling, first of all, which is difficult to do in and of itself, because you almost have to plan for that ahead of time and almost predict where they're going to end up. So really, that is such a skill that they have that they can even attempt to do something like that. But it looks like they did miss.
Yeah, and it's only it's only 8:30, and they set that off up on the off ramp of a freeway. I mean, you got to negotiate with all the other drivers that are on the road that no one else is going to run over that spike, and that he's going to go the right way. And spike strips are such a difficult thing for law enforcement to do sometimes, because especially when he's coming off of when he's coming off the freeway like that, he's going at a slower speed and can see it.
Sure, and they have to not be visible to them, right? And say, "Ooh, there's an officer there."
But in this situation, the guy saw it and was able to maneuver around it to not hit it. As we are on Chapman here, and we are now going. We're going to be coming into the city of Fullerton right now. We are westbound on Chapman in the city of Fullerton.
If you're just joining us here on KCAL News at 8, this is breaking news. The Anaheim PD chasing a Chevy Silverado. The want tonight, assault with a deadly weapon on a big rig. The details are unclear as to exactly what happened and what the circumstances are of that want. But we do know that this person has had a pattern of where they've been traveling tonight. They have stayed in the Anaheim, Fullerton, this area, State College Boulevard, this area, Northern Orange County for a very long time now, getting onto the 91 freeway multiple times and then getting off on surface streets in the city of Anaheim and in Fullerton in North Orange County multiple times. So maybe this person is very familiar with this area. Oftentimes we do see pursuit suspects staying in the areas that they are familiar with because they know the back streets, the alleys, how to get to where, shortcuts and things like that.
I just worry.
Just relatively more comfortable just knowing
I just worry about the pedestrians. That's my main, when I watch these, I like really watch out, and and watching all the people walking down the side of the road, and I get like really flustered and start panicking. And yeah, these are, yeah, I know, right, William? Right, William? No cameras. But you know what, baby? I was in a 1961 Cadillac that was beige and stood out like a sore thumb because it was 1988 and I had my nice antique car. And yeah, I hit a car from behind. I was busy waving at the jock from high school. He was in his truck in the other lane. And so I was waving at him. His name was Matt. I'll never forget him. And I was so excited just waving because he was waving back. I thought I was big shit, I had the jock waving at me. And bam, slammed right in the back of a car. So what did I do? I backed up and went around it, drove into one of the neighborhoods. Duh, like they weren't going to find me.
Makes him feel more comfortable, but to law enforcement, that gives them the advantage of being able to try to set up some spike strips. And okay, so Susie, I'm looking at some video. Rick Brown, our executive producer, caught this when he was at State College, and I don't know what the cross here is, but right in front of a Motel 6, as we negotiate another turn there live, he threw something out the window. So he gets in the left-hand turn pocket, and something green comes out the window. Green, and there's another white object that comes out the window. I know we don't have it just yet, Jackie. We're going to work on cutting that right now, and I'll see if I can cut it too here and show it to you. But hard to tell what it was. He throws it out, and then he doesn't stay in that turn pocket.
Ooh, wrong side of the road.
Wrong side of the road, and wrong side of the road with a median. That Motel 6 right here.
Oh,
that's where he threw it out. There was the spike strip from earlier.
Okay, so definitely a pattern here in the
what
driveway.
Is he doing the wrong
and this
side
is the most dangerous driving we've seen. Wrong side of the road, obviously, is very, very concerning for law enforcement here and the other motorists, especially when you don't have, when you have a median like that in the middle, you can't cut back over. It's harder for drivers to get out of the way of this guy, especially we're going, 50 miles an hour here, wrong way on State.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, real close. All right, at least we're back on the right side of the street now.
It looks like police right there in chase, a little closer than before. It looks like they might be speeding
They're
up a
gonna pit
little
him
bit.
or something.
Maybe
You watch. Here they come.
Here we go.
Here
we go.
Here comes
for
the
a
pit.
maneuver.
Push him.
Ooh,
fishtailing.
it's fishtailing.
So close. That one was really
higher
close.
profile vehicles, Mike, they're different than the shorter sedans that we often see them pitting.
Oh,
wow.
almost
right
there.
Is really
Anaheim
blowing
wants it,
through
though,
them
now.
right behind him. Wow.
Yeah.
You're not kidding about the agency in Orange County being a little bit more aggressive than what we see here in LA. Oftentimes when we see them in LA, they'll definitely take some precaution, especially through an intersection like that, because they're officers, obviously. They're going to go for another one, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to try for another one. Real quick, Marvin in my ears in the helicopter tonight. We're approaching the Disneyland TFR. I want to ask Marvin and our pilot, Chris, who are doing a great job tonight, if we can try to climb to get on top of it. For anyone who knows what that is, that puts us up at about 3,000 feet to get on top of the Disneyland TFR. So we'll see if they can work with SoCal Approach to do that as we kind of look at this. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at it from quite a distance here. Trapped by the stoplight here at State College and Lincoln. You see those Anaheim PD officers opening the door with their guns drawn, trying to box him in. Look at that.
That was very aggressive.
Whoa, wow.
I have never seen that before.
That,
wow.
Anaheim.
Never mind a pit. It was a full-on push, and he keeps on going.
Wow.
Just some incredibly aggressive action taken by the Anaheim Police Department tonight, something I've never seen live here on KCAL News. They actually pushed and rammed the car up to the sidewalk. It started as what it looked like was going to be a pit maneuver.
Yeah. Oh, well, a pit maneuver, and I thought they were maybe just going to try to box him in. And I don't know if if the suspect started to try to drive a little bit, and that's what, caused this guy to say, no, thanks, I'm going to keep going. And then they pushed him. But now we've got some damage to the side of the truck here. You hope in these situations that the truck eventually will start to give out, and, maybe they popped a tire doing that or something that will bring this chase to an end a little bit, faster here as we are continuing southbound here. We're just kind of paralleling the 57 freeway there, southbound State College.
Oh, they squeeze right
SkyCal is going to be looking at this from a distance here because we are just outside of the flight restriction for Disneyland. We are not allowed to fly 3 miles around or 3,000 feet above Disneyland. We have to stay outside of that perimeter. It's just a long-standing, it's called a TFR, but really it's permanent. On the right side of the screen here, we're going to show you the replay from that pit maneuver. The first one where they just kind of kiss the bumper really close there. Susie, I want you to see on the right side of the screen, the top right side of the screen, the speedometer from SkyCal. They tried that pit maneuver at almost 50 miles an hour.
On surface streets.
On surface streets. Here's where they start pushing them. And look at that. They try to box him in a little bit. The guy is driving. Yeah, so he hits the gas, and that's what causes the officer to push him. Almost gets him pinned in against that electrical box there, but then he keeps going.
Just incredible, you know.
Yeah, and Marvin in the chopper's telling me it looks like he's starting to lose tires. So that was what I was hoping for when they, you know, kind of scooted him like that. Hopefully that contains. It looks like there may be a little bit of smoke coming out of the back of the truck there.
Yeah,
so
the car's looking a little wobbly now.
excuse me. So yeah, as he's, you know, pushing through, and that's what we hope for, is that the car starts to become disabled before he, you know, hits anybody. But again, 50 miles an hour, Susie, on a pit. Here comes another one. Almost. See, now the guy's on. See, this is what happens. You do one, and then they're on to you. So watch, every time that officer tries to get up to his left side, the guy catches on and veers to the left, kind of preventing that officer from effectuating that pit maneuver.
I don't want to give this guy any kind of praise, of course, but the way that they're driving, it almost leads me to believe that they've been through this before. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, you know, pressing on the gas as a police vehicle is pushing your car sideways and just, you know, accelerating on the gas. And then, you know, knowing that if you keep accelerating outside of a pit, then, you know, I mean, out of a pit, then that you'll keep going. And it's just incredible to see this happening right now. The Anaheim Police Department using many
techniques.
Techniques tonight, from spike strips off the freeway to pit maneuvers off the freeway on surface streets. Yeah,
I mean, for reference point, you know, and here we go again. Look, 50 miles an hour again. And for reference point, for people watching at home, if you've seen pit maneuvers before, generally the comfortable speed and usually the max speed is about 30 to 35 miles an hour. That's where they're comfortable doing it without the cars flipping over and doing all of that. So 50 miles an hour is a lot. Susie, I also have another new piece of information. CHP is giving out, you know, just geographical updates to their officers. They're not involved in this, but they're letting their officers, you know, keep briefed on it, especially with the amount of times we've been on the freeway. They are reporting tonight that he is armed. So that is a big play in this. And remember, the original want on this is assault with a deadly weapon against a big rig. We don't know what that means. We don't know exactly how that alleged assault took place, what the weapon was that was used. But CHP is now letting their officers know tonight that they do believe that he is armed. We certainly, again, don't know how they know that or exactly what he may be armed with.
You know, which makes movements like this, you know, when they get so close like this to do an attempt, a pit maneuver. You know, we were talking about earlier, Mike, how, you know, them having a weapon could make all the difference in them attempting a pit maneuver or not, because should that car turn around and that person could be using their weapon on the officers that are facing them now. But the Anaheim Police Department really getting aggressive with this person tonight, wanting to bring this to an end. They have used multiple techniques, as we've seen live here on KCAL News at 8, including yet what we believe is another pit maneuver by this lead car here. And we've seen multiple attempts so far, and none of them have stopped them so far. Even a push, even them using a push with their actual vehicle to do that. My goodness, we thought that they might get trapped by that, but nope, they kept on going.
And Susie, we're coming around the south side of the TFR, so SkyCal is going to be able to get a better look on this. We've also heard from the CHP.
He's getting closer.
Man, they really want it. I know.
Oh, there's too many cars
I mean, I understand why they want to bring this to an end, but there were so many cars right there. That would have been dangerous.
I was going to say, I don't think they're going to attempt it there, but boy.
That was close, too, to that intersection.
That's the thing with these officers who are pursuing. I mean, of course, they want to get to this person, but they are also trained to save themselves in a situation like this, and to make sure that they're protected, too.
And innocent drivers and those other motorists.
Exactly, the public at large.
Susie, we also know CHP is ready to assist. They will have canines ready. Should this guy get out and try to run, CHP and the other units, I'm sure Anaheim's got canines involved in this as well. They're ready to release dogs and have this guy, you know, try to make a run for it from the dogs if that is what the situation might be. Basically, the freeway that we are going to be approaching here, this is going to be the 22. So we're at the City Drive. We just passed the outlets at Orange.
Okay, so we're in Orange.
Yeah, and now he's going to come towards us. So I think he's going to be making an eastbound turn on Memory Lane. Coming towards SkyCal, which is great news for us. Look at that. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
And it did turn it around this time. Ooh,
he hit the wall.
Hopefully that stops this car. My goodness.
He's still going to try to keep going into the other wall. So hopefully this will be the end of it.
And this is actually on the freeway, Mike?
No, this is Memory Lane.
Okay, look like the freeway. Okay.
And look at all the smoke. So he's hitting the gas still, and that's what's causing those tires to smoke like that.
Wow. And remember, this person, as far as we know, is armed. The want is assault with a deadly weapon on a big rig. again, the details, we don't know exactly what happened. Okay, shots fired. Okay, so again, this person is armed. We don't know if those shots came from the person or Anaheim Police Department, but obviously they got up to this person pretty fast, Mike. We often see, the CHP, especially if they know that they are armed, they're going to have that body shield first before they're even approaching that car. But as you see, the Anaheim Police Department, they just went right up to this car. It's unclear if the shots were fired from the police officers there on the ground, or it came from the person who we do believe the driver of this car is armed. Unclear if there is another person in this car tonight. We don't know if there is anyone else, but as far as we know, this person wanted for assault with a deadly weapon on a big rig. Coming to an end tonight on Memory Lane and the City Drive in the city of Orange, and the Anaheim Police Department chasing this person for a good part of about 45 minutes to an hour or so. And we're going to show you some of the things that happened earlier, right before this situation came to an end here on the Memory Lane that we're talking about. See that? Yep, crashed right into the wall there as that officer did the pit maneuver, and again crashes into the other wall, and then finally trapped and still accelerating, as Mike mentioned and was noticing, and all that smoke coming out of the car. And then we heard that shots were fired. Unclear tonight whether it was by Anaheim Police Department.
I do believe at this point it was by law enforcement, and I'll tell you why, Suze. So you noticed that the gas was going and going and going and going and going, and that's what we were seeing all the smoke from. And then as soon as we heard the shots fired, that stopped, right? And there has been no apparent movement from the person in the truck. I do want to do just a little bit of housekeeping with our control room here really quick. They're going to make an approach on this car, and if that person has been shot, they're going to pull him out of the truck. And I just want to make sure that we don't, show that at all. So, and again, you're looking at a far off shot here. We are just outside the Disneyland TFR, the flight restrictions for Disneyland. So that's why we're not closer. Susie, this is now going to turn into a massive investigation.
Sure.
This road, Memory Lane, if you're in this area, and again, this is Memory Lane. The next major is going to be Bristol. This area is going to be closed for hours now that police are going to have to potentially investigate a shooting that occurred along with this. The smoke from the front of the truck has subsided. I assume that happened when he slammed into both of those, kind of walls. And then we saw a bunch of smoke from the rear end, which was when, he was still trying to gun it and hit the gas. Who knows, Susie, he may have also fired shots as a result of this.
But you could tell by their stance, too, after it happened, right? After those shots were fired, we got the call for these shots fired. You can tell by the officer's stance that they weren't in that stance anymore of approaching the car as they were so carefully before.
Yeah, and I'm even going to play it back. I'll play it back on my computer. We obviously don't want to show the moment he gets shot, but or if he got shot, but we're going to be careful with that. But you did notice that some of those officers began crouching, kind of behind the police cars, which is obviously usual and not surprising if shots are being fired. And again, as to your point, Susie, we do believe that police fired shots, but we don't know if it's because did he fire shots at them? Did he just point it at them? We don't know kind of the circumstances surrounding that. And I'm just trying to watch this. Yeah, so there is an officer. I can see where he fired the shots. There's an officer that came right up against the center divide and fired shots right into the driver's side window.
I see.
So that is when that occurred. And again, they're going to give, he's out. Look at that.
Oh.
Out of the passenger side. Somebody is. I don't know if there were two people in that truck.
Somebody just came out the passenger side.
Out of the passenger side car of the driver of the truck there.
Okay, so it's unclear if there was a passenger in the car. We don't know if that's the driver, but as far as we know that shots were fired. We do believe by the Anaheim Police Department at this person. So it could have been a passenger in the car or the driver who maybe wasn't hit. It's unclear right now, but as far as we know, Anaheim Police Department was the one who did the shooting, but it's unclear. It could have been that person shot at them first. It could have been that maybe they pointed their weapon at them and that's what made them shoot in that person's direction. But for whatever reason, that person was armed, and they knew that going into this, they knew that this was an assault with a deadly weapon on a big rig. The circumstances, again, we're trying to clear that up, but we do know, as far as we know, that this person had a weapon during this entire chase, which surprised us a lot.
It did
because of how they're aggressive they're being.
Right, and we do know we are hearing now that there were two people in there.
Okay.
So there is a driver and a passenger. We did see the passenger. We saw somebody get out of the passenger side. I do believe that is a passenger. So right now, the police, they're getting that person secured. What they're going to continue to do, right now, it's unclear. And you know what? I can check and see if the fire department's responding. I assume they are. But what they'll do is they'll give commands, right? They'll give commands.
Sure.
They'll tell the person to come out, and then they'll do that until that they're comfortable. If this person is unable to get out on their own, if they were wounded or severely wounded by the gunfire, at some point they will make a decision to go up and just approach that car. But they're definitely going to try and make commands first to get that person to come out before they approach it. And you do see the canines down there. I think I saw a shield by somebody.
I'm going to say, I don't know so much about how much approaching they have to do, because they did fire into the vehicle, and unfortunately,
they will try to make an approach.
The windshield looks a little red to me. I'm not going to lie.
Kind of what the status of the individual is in the driver's side. If he is unable to get out on his own, if he's communicating and yelling back at them, it's hard to tell at this point.
Maybe it's the flashing from the red lights.
Armed after
I don't know.
We had heard that we saw some items or objects being thrown out the window, a green and a white object. We thought maybe those might be the weapons they were throwing out the window, since they were wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. But it looks like they were armed, still. At the end of this chase, and that's probably what may have precipitated the shooting at the end. So right now, officers from the Anaheim Police Department looked like they were making a plan there at the back of the squad car there, and it looks like they're getting ready to make an approach to this car that was stopped by really getting trapped in by their own units after multiple attempts to try to stop this car from spike strips. They did multiple pit maneuvers as well, attempts, and one finally worked there, sent the car. If we can play that one more time to show our audience how this finally came to an end. It was really after multiple pit maneuver attempts that finally the officers were able to pit the car right here and send that car to the wall there. And then from there, it starts to roll on over to the other side. And that's when Anaheim Police says, no more, we're trapping you in. And that's when this car finally comes to an end. We want to do just.
All right, guys, that was fun. I just thought I would try something for a little bit again, different. I caught a little bit of chase. So, hey, anyways, I'll be back at midnight my time, which is about an hour and 15 minutes. And we'll do our people getting arrested at work. That's going to be one. So who knows? All right, we'll see what we come up with then. Till then, peace, rubber out. See y'all at midnight.